Hello guys, welcome back to my channel once again. So in this video we'll discuss about the topic of auxiliary boiler working principle, that is competence number 1, task number 8. Well, let's get into the content. The very name boiler itself, we can understand it is boiling something. Okay, so actually boiler is used to generate steam. And how it's generating? By boiling the water. So what is there to know about the basic principle or something? So this is the principle, like you're gonna heat the water and you're gonna generate the steam. But the thing is, this all has to be done in a way that it complies with the IMO standards, that meets the safety standards of the ship. That's all. Okay, so I have got a diagram for you guys. So this is actually my ship's boiler. So this is the diagram. When you see a boiler, this is how you're gonna look at it. Okay, so they have given a top view, front view, top view, side view. Now the thing what we discussed, water turning into a steam. So this all happens inside this drum. Okay, so this drum is going to have the water, this drum is going to have the heat. So this is all happening over here. Now getting on to the basic. Well, water turning into steam. We are generating steam by heating the water. So one main thing here, what you have to understand is about the heat triangle. The fire triangle. So the triangle has 3 sides. So similarly, to generate a fire, you need to have 3 common factors. One is the heat, one is the fuel, one is the oxygen. Only if 3 are there, then you can have a fire. Okay, you can generate a fire. And why we are discussing about a fire? Why? Because we are going to fire the boiler so that we generate a steam. And there is also one more common term, no? In English there is a proverb, diamond cuts a diamond. So I would say in a other term, to generate a steam, you need to have a steam, like not exactly the steam, a smoke. Yeah, diamond cuts a diamond. So to have a steam, you need to have a steam, but not exactly the steam. You have to have a smoke to generate the steam, and to have that smoke we have to fire. Okay, what we are going to fire? We are going to fire a fuel. That fuel, it can be diesel oil, then it can be to the HFO, whatever it is. So by firing fuel, we're gonna generate a smoke, and that smoke is going to boil these waters. So that's all. Okay, so basically boiler is of 2 types, smoke tube boiler, water tube boiler. Suppose this is the boiler, and here you have the water. Now this water needs to be turned into a steam. So I have to put a fire on the bottom, but literally that is not going to happen. Rather, we will insert tubes. Like tubes will be having inside this. Okay, inside you'll be having tubes. Now inside, consider this pen as a tube. Now inside this tube, you're going to pass the smoke. Okay, so as the smoke passes over the tube is going to get heat, and since these waters are in contact with the tube, this water gets heated and they get steam. Okay, vaporized once the water turns 100 degrees Celsius. So this is called a smoke tube boiler. Okay, we are passing smoke in the tube and water is around it. This is called smoke tube boiler. Whereas water tube boiler is the one where water will be passed over the tube and smoke will be around. Consider these empty areas smoke, and consider this tube is having water. Now the smoke around the tube with water, it will get generated into steam. Okay, so this is what, there are only 2 types of boiler. So this is how the steam is generated. And we discuss about the fire triangle, because there is one common question they asked during COC examination. What do you know about a fire triangle? What is that, and how actually it matters to the boiler? Okay, so the fire that we generated, now it produces the heat. Because of that heat, the water gets boiled and this thing. So they also ask like how all the heat can be transferred to the water. So this is a basic physics. There are 3 ways the heat can be transferred. One is by the radiation, one is by conduction, one is by convection. For radiation, we would have studied in our childhood, without any physical contact, when you heat up an object, that is called radiation. The best example is sun and earth. Sun is like some miles away and earth is somewhere, but because of burning hot sun still being on the earth, we can feel the 35 degree, 37 degree Celsius of temperatures. There is no any physical contact, but still because of the radiation, the heat is getting transferred. So that is one way of heat getting transferred, that is called radiation. And convection, what they say is, if suppose you are burning this water, what happens is the bottommost will get heated up first. So this heated up will become the lighter molecules and they will try to go up, whereas the topmost will be heavier molecules. So they will come down, they will heat up. So similarly, so lighter molecules go up, heavier molecules come down, so it will transfer like this and finally they get heat up. So this is called convection. And conduction, normally we know, suppose if this is an iron rod, if you're heating at one end, the other end you will feel the heat because the heat is getting transferred by the way of conduction. Now in boiler, all these three methods, I mean in all these three ways a heat is getting transferred. You know how? We know now this is the boiler, inside we have water, we have the smoke tubes over here, but okay, water is there, tube is there, now we have to pass the smoke. Okay, so we are going to have something called furnace, something like this. Consider this as a furnace. Here we will fire, here through this we will supply air, supply the fuel, and there will be ignition transformer to make a fire, and then continuous supply of oil will be there. So as we do this, what happens is a smoke is generated. Now this smoke we are allowing to pass through this tubes. If it is a smoke tube boiler, yeah, we are going to pass through this tube. The smoke generated from this burner, it will be going to a furnace. Now all this burner is burning things, right? A fire is generated. That will be happening in a place called furnace, okay, inside the boiler. From the furnace, the smoke is going to get passed through the smoke tubes, okay, and surrounding water are going to get the heat. So this is a way of convection method, okay, like what we saw when you're flaming it down, firing it down, the lighter molecules go up, heavier molecules get down. So convection method, okay. And a radiation method is also involved. You know how? As you're firing here, what happens is the furnace inside is going to get hot. I mean, like a flame is generated from the burner area, and this flame is going to heat up the furnace area. So the furnace area is going to get hot. In that way, the heat is transferred through radiation method. So we know by radiation method, the furnace shell is getting hot, okay. By convection method, the water is getting hot as we pass the smoke through the tube. And the conduction method, as we pass the heat smoke, the hot smoke over this area, the pipelines will get hot overall, okay. So all three ways of heat transfer is also involved. Now this is all about the working principle, nothing much. Now the basic thing is we understand that, yeah, boiler generates steam, and the way it generates steam, now where the steam is going to go. In my ship, still we don't use an LSMGO or ULSFO, we still use a HFO, so we are having scrubber for emission control, whatever. But HFO has a viscosity that has to be maintained for the operational use, else the HFO will become so heavy and finally will not be able to use. So in my ship, mainly for HFO, because they say, yeah, you need for accommodation, calorifier, for that, for accommodation heating, for all those we have the electrical heaters, calorifier is electrical heater, whatever. Mainly in my ship, it is about the HFO. We need to maintain the oil viscosity at a level so that we can be using it. You know, viscosity means the thickness. If oil is too thick, you cannot pump it, you cannot pass it. So it has to be little lighter in density, then only you will be able to pass it. So we are in my ship, we are mainly using this boiler steam for maintaining the viscosity of the HFO, okay, heavy fuel oils. So this is the diagram I have made. From the boiler, the steam is generated and it is passed through the consumer. In my ship, it is HFO, heavy fuel oil. So Upon heating that, because these all are going to pass in a tube, we are not directly going to put a smoke or steam on it. We'll be passing a steam through the coils. And yeah, like in AC refrigeration, how a gas passes through the evaporator coil, but still we are getting the room cold because of heat exchange. Similarly, in the tube, we are passing the steam and heat exchange is taking place. Well, so as we are passing through the bunker tank, there is a consumer, then the steam, where it goes, you're not exhausting it. We are passing it to the atmospheric condenser, where the steam is condensed. The vapor gets condensed to the water. So that water we are collecting in the casket tank. So from the casket tank, again, we are transferring it to the boiler to generate the steam. So steam generator, condensing water, again to boiler, steam, condensing water, okay. And from the casket tank to transfer to the boiler only, we are using feed pump, and this water is not a normal water, it is chemically treated, so using a chemical dosing pump. So I think this is okay to know about the boiler as of now in task 8. So in upcoming videos we'll look for the burner. I think, yeah, it is about the burner and how to start and stop a boiler. So we'll look onto this. So to give an overall thing, boiler is to generate a steam, and how it is generating steam, with the help of the fire triangle, you can understand, and through the methods of conduction, convection, and radiation. Well, inside the boiler, either you're gonna have a smoke tube or these water tube boilers. So yeah, by the heat transfer, it is going to generate the steam. So diamond cuts a diamond, you're generating a steam by a steam, but not a steam by a smoke. So you generate a smoke, and that smoke we are transferring as a heat to the water, and it is generating it as a steam again. So basically, this is the operating principle of boiler, nothing much. In upcoming videos, we'll look more in detail about the burners and how to start and stop a boiler. And about boiler also, the one I discussed is about a composite boiler. Here we are using fuel to burn to produce a heat. In other cases, there are also boiler called as exhaust gas economizers, where we don't have to, fire anything. We don't have to have a combustion through fuel and generators, smoke to create that. Through the main engine, main engine's exhaust, the exhaust of main engine. After the fuel combustion, there is exhaust, right? That exhaust, rather than directly leaving it through the chimney of the ship, we will pass it to this tubes inside the boiler. The ultimate aim is we need a smoke, right? That smoke can be from anywhere. Rather than the boiler combustion, we take the exhaust of the main engine to pass through this smokes. So there are like types of boilers, but we'll not go into this. Task number 8 is about operating principles of boiler. So yeah, I hope we covered it.